Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. On today's episode, I have Erica Davies of the Well-Traveled Soul. She is the chief travel designer over there at the Well-Traveled Soul, who is based in Rhode Island, I believe, down in up in Rhode Island. Welcome to the podcast, Erica. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Very excited to have you. As we were discussing before we hit record on the podcast episode, I was telling Erica that I was excited to have this conversation because there's a lot of layers to unpack with Erica. So let's start with the first layer. When you go to Erica's website, she is very upfront about how she is a passionate traveler, but she's also a wife and a mom and an entrepreneur. So you left the corporate world. You spent about 20 years in the corporate world. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you started in travel and then you went to corporate. Ironically, when I was reading that about your story, you left the travel business to go into corporate in 2001, which is exactly the same time I left corporate to go into travel.
It was a tricky year.
It was a very tricky year. We had September 11th that year, and travel basically shut down for another probably 12 months. And then we had the TSA evolve.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about that transition of, being in corporate America. You're also a working mom, and the thought process and what inspired you to leave to start your travel business.
Sure thing. So I will say my daughter just turned 16, and a lot of my professional journey has always been inspired by her. I have an only child, and being female, I think I always just thought I had to be, well, of course, I think we all have to be role models. So anytime that I'm scared to do something, I'm like, you can't be, you have somebody watching you.
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
I've left corporate. I did real estate for a handful of years. It's basically, if I say it, I have to do it because I can't parent her and set these expectations if I'm not doing it myself. So everything is kind of based off of that. Leaving corporate was and is a big decision. I still have my toe in it a little bit, but I really was at a point in my life, as we all get, that I wanted to do something for myself. I started talking about a business. I didn't know what the business was going to be, but really wanted to go out and do something on my own. I thought my experiences up to this point in my career, the knowledge that I have gained, that I had what it took to go do something for myself. I worked for a very successful entrepreneur who sold his company 7 years ago. So going through that journey, and I'm like, I want to be that.
Yeah.
I want to be that successful entrepreneur, not just be the person in the background.
Right.
So started talking about it. Me and my daughter had a notebook, and we were dreaming about ultimately getting into travel. And she drew signage for me. So being able to dream with her and then ultimately saying, okay, you need to do this because we've talked about it for too long. And I said I was going to do it, so I have to do it. And here we are. Here we are. I just celebrated June 1st, was 3 years in business.
Amazing. That's really, really amazing. And so you went through our travel MBA program in 22. And so I want to compliment you on your branding because it is a massive focus in our travel MBA program. But not everybody hits it out of the park the way you have. I think the name of the business is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. And if you check out Erica's website, which is it thewelltraveledsoul.com?
You got it. Yep.
Check out her website. Her branding is just a fantastic representation of what to do. There's a lot more examples out there of what not to do. It's really hard to find a good example of what to do. But you are an example of what to do, from the name down to the messaging, and it just oozes luxury. It oozes heart. It oozes, that you have a passion for travel, but you also have a passion for your clients having a good experience. And you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And I love your passion for travel too. I can relate because I, growing up, didn't travel like internationally a lot, but my mom was very insistent on us taking family vacations around the United States, as well as, I don't think I'd ever been to the Caribbean when I got married. I don't think I had yet. So, and I know that you've got quite a heart for the Caribbean too. So what would you say is, how did you navigate the whole branding process in a way that it turned out so well?
So great question. And of course, as a TMBA mentor, I try to say all the time, and I know a few of my fellow mentors, Dina King will say, we got the playbook. We just got to listen. We got to execute. We got to do it. The Fletcher in her podcast said the same thing. And oftentimes, I think we start or we think we should do something different. Being in the program, we have such a robust program that has been developed by yourselves and with input from so many others with years of experience. It would be silly not to follow what was provided. I'm really good if you give me a checklist of telling me what to do. I'm really good at checking things off the list. I will say too, your brand is the first thing that people are going to see about you. So it can be nerve-wracking. Sometimes good has to be good enough. You can evolve, but it has to be good enough that you're comfortable to go out into the world and say, I started this business. This is who I am, that the language speaks to the clients that you're trying to reach. You put the work in, put the effort in, and as long as the product you have, the branding that you have, speaks to you, is relevant, you go out there. You can go in and change a website anytime you want. You can change words. You can change a picture. If it's at 95%, nobody's going to notice. So good enough, and get out there. But I love, naturally, like nice houses and nice hotels. So kind of that stuff, just, nice cars. Those types of things drive what the branding kind of looks like.
I think it's one of the most fun parts of the process.
Yeah.
And if you're creative, I think you agree. But I think there's definitely people who are so bored by it and they're just like want to get through it and get past it and just get it done. It doesn't feel like you approached it that way at all. It feels like you really poured your heart into it. Is there a story to the name of the business or not really?
There is a name that I wanted that had already been taken. So I was kind of stuck on some subset of, one of my good friends, Nicole, actually owns a stationery store. She's very creative. And her and I went to lunch one day and we were just batting ideas around. And the Well-Traveled Soul came. And part of my travel story is I lost my father at a young age, prior to turning 21. But the blessing in all of that is we did do a lot of family vacations, similar to you. We did a lot of New England, but we did get to do a couple of Caribbean trips. A Bermuda cruise was like the pinnacle of my first big vacation. I felt like, oh my gosh, this is what we got outside of Rhode Island. I'm all in. So by losing my dad, I think sometimes in loss you learn, certainly. And for me, he always lived he lived every day like it was his last day. It's very interesting. I explain that to people. He passed away when he was 44 and people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, he had the most positive outlook on life. he did things. He lived absolutely with no regrets. And travel was a big one for him. He, was a small business owner himself. And if he got a big job, it was, oh, good, I got extra money. We're going to go away this weekend. So for me, it was the soul part of well-traveled soul is your soul you will never be upset. If you can fill your soul with these experiences, you will live a full life. You will, when it is your time to go, you'll never be able to say, I wish I did. You have
Yeah.
them. So to me, the well-traveled soul, it's how I think we should all go through our lives is travel enriches us in so many different ways. You know, Rhode Island's awesome, especially right now in the summer, but man, it's really beautiful outside of Rhode Island. So that's kind of that name is just, fill your soul with these memories of travel.
I absolutely love that. That is just so beautiful. And that's exactly the kind of heart and soul that we want you all to infuse in your business. And the best way to do that is to start with the branding, even including the name. So the fact that you've woven that into the name and the messaging and the whole brand concept is unbelievably beautiful. And it has, what I teach is that when you do this, or another way to say it, when you start with why, that's the Simon Sinek book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually in my upcoming book. It is one of the components of what I call the escape plan to escape falling into the accidental hobbyist trap and build a 7-figure travel business. The second step of that is start with why. And the reason why that's so important is exactly what you just said. It 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 shifts your marketing from being pushy and transaction oriented to the other side of the spectrum, from being heart-based, coming from a giving place, wanting to help, wanting to be of service. And I can feel that with you is you want to help other people have a beautiful life experience to fill their soul up with those memories so that they have no regrets too. And they have those connections to their own family that often grow really, really deep when you travel on a well-traveled itinerary.
Absolutely.
A well-planned itinerary. No.
Absolutely.
So you got an A+ for
Well, thank you.
infusing your brand with why you do what you do and making it magnetic. And it really does translate into building a business and building a book of business with clients that you love working with. So that's my next question. How has that been? You're 3 years into the business. I think you're probably on your way to being in phase 3 this year of the business, and that's amazing. Like, first of all, congratulations, because that means you've sailed, not sailed, but you have made it past the stuck point, which is phase 2 or the break even point. About 521,000 in sales in a 12-month calendar year, to be exact, is average. And average is about break even right now. So, talk to me about, has it been frustrating? Has it been rewarding? Has it been a mixture of building your book of business with clients that you really enjoy working with?
So I feel like this is the answer that we'll all give, I think. It's a referral-based business.
Yeah.
And if you start off doing the business that it is exactly that you want,
Yeah.
which is difficult as
Oh, yeah.
any entrepreneur, no matter what your business is, you want to get off the ground. And I've certainly taken a handful of trips that I wish I hadn't to a degree, because I don't want to use the word you're desperate, but there's like part of learning. I think you almost have to go through that experience to know what it is you want and what you don't want. But I've worked hard staying aligned to the type of trips that I want to book, both by whether that's destination or a certain investment. And as a result, the referrals are within the same
Yeah.
because my referral network is talking about the trip that they want. So folks are not reaching out to me for a trip that doesn't align because they already kind of maybe know that's not something she would do, or that's out of, I have minimum spends now, that's out of her minimum spend budget. Um, so it's working out real well. You just have to have patience
Yeah.
and trust that it will work. So you talk about coming from a place with soul and care. I take I think I do a little more in the discovery phase of our call, and while I'm planning trips for clients, my process is I really only want 5 to 10 clients per month, probably like 6 or 7 that are the right clients that I can really nurture and not only execute their trip, but get to know them and their family as well. I always say my first time I'm talking to a client I hope this is the beginning of a relationship. I want to know about your family. I want to know about, I have one family that's a family of 5 with 3 children, and I know so much about those kids. We talk about, what college did she end up choosing? Oh, your son is now looking at colleges. What is he thinking about? What is he thinking about his senior trip? How is he doing for football? For me, anybody that knows me, of my friends and family know I wear my emotions on my sleeve and I almost kind of expect it back. So I feel if I open up, they open back up with me. So sticking with that, um, I feel very fortunate. Little by little, I just keep getting the clients that align
Love
with
that.
that mindset.
That's so funny because I just finished writing a very short LinkedIn post, really. It's an article, but it's not really. It's too short to be an article. Which starts with a saying that I learned from a business coach over 20 years ago. Well, no, about 20 years ago. Anyway, and the quote is, when you let go of something of a lower nature, you make room to receive something of a higher nature. And then the post talks about how when I first started in the business, I took any and all business that came my way. I was afraid to turn down business. And I had that mentality of one client is better than no clients. Um, and I didn't want to give the wrong impression by saying no. But once I heard that that mindset shift of a universal law. It is a universal law. When you let go of something of a lower nature, you make room to receive something of a higher nature. It gave me permission and the courage to finally say no to clients
Mhm.
and also even fire clients. And boy, is it accurate. Like the second you let go of something, it is remarkable how it's like a vacuum. It will not stay empty.
Meredith, I've been on a handful of your mindset calls. You have no idea how often I say that to myself. I'm like, Meredith, let one thing go, something else comes in. My husband even laughs at me because I'll have a discovery call and I'm like, oh, I don't think it's a good match. I'm gonna have to, say thanks, but
Yeah.
no thanks. And I'm like, but it's okay because I'm gonna get a call
Yeah.
soon and it's going to be aligned. I'm just opening up myself for something that's more aligned. And he's like, okay. And he's like, you should just say yes and do it. I'm like, no, I will not.
I love that you operate from that mentality because again, you said it yourself. One of the first things you said is it's hard to say no sometimes. It's hard to not let that fear-based, drunk monkey in your head take over. And the
Yes.
drunk monkey's like ringing an alarm bell saying, "Hey, you idiot, don't say no to business. You just opened a business. Why are you saying no to clients?"
Yes. And I will say my time in corporate America, my last job, we went through, it was like 15 years ago, 14 years ago, where it was a small business that was moving into an enterprise. And we had to do this exercise, the executive team, of going through and classifying your clients as A, B, and C. And we
Oh, I
can't,
like this.
yeah. So you couldn't, we couldn't deliver the same level of service anymore. Our
Mhm.
clients were getting bigger. Our clients were getting more complicated. And if we wanted to go after those clients, we unfortunately had to get rid of the A's and B's. So a small company spun out and we just focused on the C's. So I kind of use that mindset often. Like I'm kind of leapfrogging. I'm like, we're not going to go through that exercise. I'm just going to start off with C's and a few
And
B's. While a few B's come.
that is that is brilliant. I love that you leaned into that. And that is one of the things that I talk about in terms of our community at GTN. So people from the outside who have not been in the community sometimes look at our the way that we are, because we have such a focus on the travel MBA program. We actually have a lot of new to the industry travel entrepreneurs in our network, and they wonder, how can you have such nourishing, deep business conversations when you have so many new to the industry people in the community? And I'm always saying it doesn't matter how new you are. Most of these people are coming with years of corporate America experience, or other entrepreneurial experience, or even being a stay-at-home mom brings incredible project management experience.
100%. 100%.
So I just love that you brought that philosophy to your business, and that is a massive strength that you have, that you can lean into those kind of prior experience. I love that you were able to work for a entrepreneur that did so well in building a business from scratch, and taking it to the point where uh, you know selling it and walking away with it. So with that being said, what is your vision for your business, and where are you in that journey?
So it's a good question. It's a great question. And I have an answer. It's not, I'm not pausing because I don't have one. I pause because a lot of people say you're crazy about what I'm going to
Oh,
say.
I
So
love this. You're a
I,
thinker. I love it.
I'm a big thinker. Um, I really believe in having a travel agency, brick and mortar. Um,
Oh, I love this.
I live in
You want
a
to go back to
community.
old school.
I want to bring the modern day travel agency
I
back to
love that.
Main Street. I have a vision of a agency that is a place that people come to get inspired by travel. I
Yeah.
bring in, um, business development managers from all of
Yep.
our relationships and partnerships that we have to do, a wine night, and we're tasting
Yep.
Portuguese wines and having some light bites and getting inspired about where we're going next. I want the place also to be a coffee shop that you come in, but it's very
Yep.
travel based, trying to think of different revenue streams, and
Yeah.
also a small world market. So it would have a very small curated section within the space that would have unique finds from around the world, so somewhat of a gift shop. I know I
Yep.
want it to be on Main Street in East Greenwich here in the next town over. I drive down the street often. I find the spot that is going to magically appear one day, and I'll be ready for it.
Yes. I
Um,
love this vision. I love it.
yes.
Love it. Love it.
So I say that all with, though, my daughter is 16, has 2 more years of high school, and I'm like, "But do I
Yep.
really want to tie myself down?" But I'm like, "Yes, I have to do it." I've said it
Yep.
multiple times. I say it to strangers. I say it to other travel advisors. I've told my daughter, and how we began this conversation, I'm like, she's waiting for me to open because I've said I was going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
I
love that
really
idea.
want
I love that
that.
vision, and you can totally do it. And you can have your cake and eat it too. You can set it up so that you don't even have to be there full time. I mean, you can have an office manager. Do you have a vision for a team too, or do you prefer to stay, solopreneur? How are you thinking?
Definitely will have to have a couple of people. Right now, I I outsource work, so I do have, somebody that does my finances. Anytime I do an event, I phone a friend, I say. I phone a friend. So I try to I try to outsource things to get used to having a team, but not dedicated. But when I move into this space, I do want to get more into a CEO role, if you will. And whether it's having a group of advisors that are working for me, an office manager, an admin, I kind of really want to do the client intake and then have a client care manager or a team behind me and then really stay on the strategic high level is where I would like to
Yes.
go in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Wow. So you have successfully demonstrated, whether you realize this or not, there are three most common blind spots that are the reason why so many people who get into this business fall into that accidental hobbyist trap. And the three blind spots are not knowing how to properly monetize the business. In other words, not really understanding your numbers, not being clear on your numbers, and not knowing how to grow revenues faster than expenses. That's the really the end of the game, right? If you can figure out how to grow your revenues faster than your expenses, then you've got a winning formula. The second blind spot is not knowing how to effectively market. And the third blind spot is not knowing how to effectively manage your operations or scale for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done all three. You've nailed all three. Like the whole conversation about, being really clear on who you want to work with and the type of client. And now you're getting referrals and it's in line with what you were originally set forth. Like you're monetizing the business. And then you definitely have hit it out of the ballpark when it comes to marketing it. And last but not least, you are already embracing the phase 3 focus, which is finding ways to add leverage to the business model by maybe bringing on people, outsourcing things, and then eventually hiring too. So I want to applaud you for that.
Very much. I appreciate that.
Talk about what is some of your favorite things to work on when it comes to your clients? Is it a type of traveler, or is it a couple of destinations that's just your heart and soul, or a mixture of both?
So I will say it's a mixture of both, but I knew from the day that I got in this business, my first tour and travel over 20 years ago, I worked for a mom and pop shop that specialized in Italy. If we look at my bookings, it's my number one seller. Um, Little plug for Rhode Island, if you haven't heard, but we will have the Real Housewives of Rhode
I
Island coming,
know.
coming soon, and you'll get to see everything that's Rhode Island, everything about Rhode Island, but we have an extremely heavy population of Italians.
Yes.
I think if we're not number one, we're number two from New Jersey,
Right.
of immigrants from Italy. So it naturally is of interest. Everybody wants to go back where their grandmother, great grandparents, they want to do ancestors and go back to the motherland, if you will. So
Right.
it's a huge natural destination just based on where I am. And also I love it. So that when I worked for the travel agency many years ago, we did 6 trips a year, group trips. The owner of that travel agency, Gerard, did 6 trips a year, church groups. It was in the heart of Knightsville, which is like Little Italy. And it was just so much fun. And even though I had never been at that point, I felt like I had gone. So Italy, without the doubt, will always be my favorite, will always be probably my number one seller. And it's also probably because when I get an inquiry, it's where I become the most passionate. Not that I love all the trips, because on the flip side, I love when it's a new destination and I'm like, ooh, let me
Yeah.
go. And I get to dive in and get into something new. So I really enjoy that. So from a destination, but then the types of trips, I've done a couple multi-gen. Most recently, we had a family that went in April, and hearing the different generations coming back with what all their favorite parts were and being able to make sure that you plan a trip that piques everybody's interest. It's very difficult, but if we can all just walk away with one thing. I actually have another traveler leaving on July 5th, and the dad's a historian, and the
Oh,
mom and the two kids are not. So I'm doing their final documents, and they're in Florence, and I'm like, please let your dad, he's an art history major. I'm like, could, just give him an hour or two and let him show off his stuff. So again, trying to get to know the clients and having fun with it, right? Like,
yeah.
I know you guys will be rolling your eyes, but he's going to sit at the beach the next day, which he doesn't want to do. And so having that, back and forth and really trying to get to know him. And I love finding those little interests and making sure we can
Yeah.
get everybody a little something when everybody's not all on the same page always.
I
Um,
think that's amazing. And you know what? I have a feeling is that that is going to actually spark some kind of an interest in history that they may not have ever had before when they see him light up
right.
and they see like how much it makes him light up. I don't know. It's just, I felt myself growing up, my mom loved to do um, educational things.
Yay.
Sightseeing, like, we couldn't go anywhere without having to have a day of sightseeing and going on tours, and I always was like, "Ugh, boring," going through museums or walking tours, um but now I absolutely love that part of travel because it brings it to life, and you really understand what you're visiting, and you really get to put your experience it through all your senses. So, um, let's
Agree.
talk a little bit about selling luxury versus premium. And, we're a member of Virtuoso, the luxury consortia, and then we also are members of almost every hotel elite program. Um, how has that positively affected your business? And could you do business without either Virtuoso or the Hotel Elite programs?
Short answer, no. And it was one of the first reasons that led me to GTN when I started doing my research of getting into the travel business. I knew that once I learned what Virtuoso was, I knew that I had to be aligned to that.
Yeah.
Similarly to when I was in real estate, I worked for the number one luxury real estate agency in Rhode Island. Um, if I guess the way that I kind of grew up is like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. I think my parents said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, if you're going to do it right, you're going to do it right the first time." That meant folding towels, cleaning walls, whatever it was, school. Do it right the first time. And so to me, I really wanted to make sure that I found an agency that was aligned with that. And it's where I'm aligned. Now, I will call myself a premium to luxury. I think I always have a touch of luxury. And I think we all say too, luxury is in the experiences. It doesn't always mean you have to be in the most expensive hotel in the most expensive city in town. It is the experiences in introducing. What I like to do is I have clients that are kind of moving into the luxury space, I would say. Maybe planning their first or second trip and them not knowing maybe previously they went anywhere in Europe and
Yes.
walked around. And
Right.
now them that guided private tour,
Yeah.
they're getting that chance to dive deep, or they're going. Even my one of my great friends, we went to Paris this February, and we did a food tour. And she's like, "I've never done anything like that. That was awesome." So it is luxury, but it's almost in inviting them to what they don't know.
Yeah.
It's a luxury, if you will.
Yeah.
I think one of our advisors in the community says luxury is about the experience or something like that, and it always hits home to me. It's not always the financial. Um,
Yeah.
it is experiences 100%. So, I just wanted to play in that space. It's what got me most excited. I like to be in that area as well. I will say when I first started, I remember sitting on the beach with my friends and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a luxury advisor." I'm like, "Oh, am I really?" No luxury people? I'm like, "I know luxury people." Do I? So you do want that, but once you
Yeah.
get a few under your belt and you're able to deliver the trip that they have invested in, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I can do this." Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with saying that. I don't
Yeah.
there's nothing shameful with saying that. Honestly, It's not offensive at all. It's just being smart. It's just being
Yeah.
a smart business person.
Yeah.
I want to go to I want to talk about you as a travel MBA mentor,
Mhm.
because you're a graduate of the program, you're an alum of the program, and now you're a mentor. Kind of a interesting question. Have you learned anything yourself from
Every
mentoring the others?
every single day, every single time, whether we're on the mentor team call with the group of mentors and our leaders, or I'm on the one-on-one calls with on our office hours or the group coaching calls, every single every single time I'm writing notes just as much as they are. Like, it's I feel so fortunate to have been asked to be a mentor and be part of it. Every day that somebody enters, they know something that I don't know, and they're entering it from a different perspective, a different
Yep.
background, and it just it opens our mind in such a big way. So I feel very fortunate that I get to have that intimate space, but then even just, of course, on the larger scale with Gifted Travel Network with 400 advisors that share so freely and openly that we're always in a growth mindset. We're always growing, learning, tweaking, doing things different. Um, we had a what was it called? The game changers calls last
Oh
week,
yeah.
and you think you know how to do something so well, and then I'm like, I'm going to start doing it that way now. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop every call, every single call,
Yeah. That's
and it's
awesome.
yeah, and then I love being able to be. I hope show that I'm confident enough of just trust the process. And I know so many people want to fight the process. And again, as we
Yeah.
started this call, we have the framework.
Yeah.
You signed up for this program for a year. The framework is defined. Of course, like anything, it gets evolved and you get to be part of
Yeah.
that evolution. I mean, it's evolved in the 3 years since I started. Um, but trust the process. Don't try to do things out of order.
Yeah.
We're all here cheering you on. You have the greatest team behind you to make it all happen. And for those that really commit to that, will see the success the fastest. And the success doesn't even always, of course, it's sales, but their website gets up and it's done and they got a
Yeah.
name. They have their processes, their back office procedures defined so that they can feel confident and ready to sell. Having all of those foundational pieces that the program builds upon and the time frame that it is, it allows you when you're ready to dive in to have everything you need to be successful.
That makes me wonder. I have never asked this question on the podcast yet, but I probably should have asked this more often. Once you graduated from the Travel MBA program, it's much lesser known that we have continuation programs under the umbrella of Travel Business University. So you go into Accelerate. Um, how has that transition been for you? And has that played a pretty important role in continuing the success that you started in the Travel MBA program?
Yeah. So, of course, what's awesome about Accelerate, it's everybody in between TMBA and top producers is the Accelerate group. And I always get this saying wrong, but it's what rising tides lifts all ships. I
Yeah,
think it's,
let's
yeah.
help out. Yes, got it.
Um, and so being part of that Accelerate group is exactly that. We have our weekly calls where questions are asked, and the questions gets more advanced, of course, as time goes on because it's more of a seasoned group of advisors. So that program is awesome. I almost make every call.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I 80% of them at least. And even when I don't have a question, I love just even if I'm
Yeah.
multitasking, but I'm on camera and I'm listening. And again, because we don't know, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know
Is
what
the
you
way.
don't know. And that is always the philosophy we've taught is even if you don't have a question, show up for the calls that are available to you because someone's going to ask a question, then you're going to be like, oh, that's a really good question.
Every
I'm
time
so glad.
never thought of that before.
Yeah, but I'm glad you asked it.
Yes.
It also what we have found, and I experienced this myself, having been in coaching programs as a student of a coaching program myself, is that the more you give to the program, the more you get out of it. And so just showing up for the calls that are available to you is one of the ways to give to the program so that you're available for your own perspective.
Mhm.
Let's talk about being a wife and a mom and the flexibility that this career path has relative to others. How has that been for you?
So I will say that I've been extremely fortunate over the last 15 years, so pretty much my daughter's whole life, that I've always had a job that allowed me flexibility.
Yeah,
Um, the CEO that I still work for a little bit has always allowed me to excel at my career, but also be a mom, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I pick up and drop my daughter off every single day at school. I have missed only ever a handful of games. She plays lacrosse, field hockey, and runs track, and she's in a couple of clubs. I couldn't be the person who I am, and I don't know that I could ever do a 9 to 5 job. Um, but I could never be also a stay-at-home mom. I love my career. I love working. I am beyond blessed that I've had the opportunity both be as this travel business and as in my past to have been
yeah,
able to do both pretty beautifully. Um, so I'm fortunate, but the travel business, of course, is even more. I would say though, you have to learn to give yourself boundaries, like anything, and especially in a service-based industry. And when people plan trips off hours, right? They're working 9 to 5 and they start thinking about, I want to go wherever in the world on a Saturday or a Sunday. I have strict hours. I work by them. Of course, unless there's an emergency, it's the only way that I can balance. I'm very communicative when I am talking with clients. I am leaving tomorrow to go away for the weekend or we have a game. I will not be online after 2. So if I don't hear from you then, I'm going to pick you back up on Monday. So I'm
right.
very good with setting expectations so I'm not ever disappointing a client like what happened to her. Uh school vacation week. This week I'm only going to be working half days in the mornings. So I guess just being communicative,
Yeah,
so I never disappoint anybody. Same thing with my family. I have to go upstairs and I need to work for this half a day, and then I can be mom.
I think that is such a great tip. It seems sort of obvious, but a lot of people in this business, especially those that get into it and they just have that fear mentality of, oh, shoot, I finally got a client. I got to drop everything and throw myself into this client and impress them. I mean, I even did it myself. But if you just are communicative to your client and manage their expectations, they don't necessarily need an answer tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not even it's a lot of times it's not even possible to get them an answer tomorrow because you're waiting on a quote from your partner and that's out of your control. So just managing their expectations is and it's a fantastic way to build the relationship
yeah.
too. So
It's been good. Even we're leaving Friday for the 2 weeks, and so everybody that I keep, travel joke. Every trip that's in flight right now, I will pause and I will pick you back up when I return on July 9th, and I will prioritize them by departure date.
right. Yeah,
It's
I
just
love it. That's amazing. So, on that note, what awesome travel have you been able to do as a family because of this career path that you've chosen?
so I will say, like my husband used to say, we used to go on really nice trips and now we go on really nice trips. He's like, oh. He loves it. I mean, the last few years, literally since, I mean, we've always traveled every single year. We've always done a family vacation. We've done the
Yeah,
Caribbean, we've done cruises, we've done Disney, Bermuda, the Bahamas, all the, Florida, up north, all the great places. Now it's just, I don't want to say elevating experience. I think it's opened our world to, even as a family, to think bigger and outside of our backyard or what we're used to. So this year we're going to Turks, which I say that like it's bad. Extremely, it's an extremely special place for us. My husband and I got
Yeah.
married. Yeah, we go back every couple of years. So we think of it just going back home. So we're there for the next 2 weeks. But the previous year, last year, we did Spain and Portugal. We did
Oh, wow.
a med cruise and then a week in Positano. The year prior to that, February break this year, we went, me, my daughter, and my best friend went to Paris.
Wow.
So, just I am inspired every day by the work that I do, as I think every travel advisor is. And
Yeah.
I want to go
Yeah.
there. I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And how has that landed on your daughter? Does she have a total explorer's heart now? Does she love international travel? Does she demand that she flies business when she flies internationally, like some parents I've
Yes,
talked to?
yes, yes, she does. So yeah, she is a traveler. She thinks big, which makes my parents made me think bigger, and I'm making her think even bigger, which
Yeah.
I'm so pleased with. Even just with school, like I went to school in Rhode Island. She's leaving the state. Where does she want to go for her high school graduation? She wants to go to Ibiza. Like she thinks much bigger than I think a lot of kids her age do. So I love it. She's a fantastic traveler. She's super easy. She knows what to do. I could put her on a plane anywhere in the world tomorrow and I would feel comfortable with it.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, she grew
That
up with
is
it. Yeah.
so rewarding. Even
So,
that's so rewarding for me when I see my kids and their travel appetite is bigger than mine, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. So in closing, that was kind of my favorite question or a variation of it. So I'm going to ask a slightly different closing question.
okay.
I want you to tell us about a trip that you planned for a client that was just so rewarding. There was something so meaningful about it. And if you have one.
So I have a few, and I'm just going to go with the most recent.
Okay.
I touched upon before, but a family reached out. They were a referral, of course. Reached out. They were actually going to go to Italy last year. They quite weren't ready for the financial investment. So I said, that's okay. Let's wait a year. I'm not going anywhere. You know who I am. You know how to reach me. We're going to do it when the time is right. The parents were retiring, and then it was a lot of their kids' birthdays and stuff. And being able to pull that trip, it's the first time that they've ever traveled internationally together as a family. I don't, a couple of them may have never even been on a plane, some of the kids. Um,
Wow.
we did, the first timers tour of Italy. They did Florence,
Uh-huh.
Rome, Amalfi Coast, and stayed at Sorrento. It went off perfectly. What I appreciated most about it too, because it was a big family. I dealt with the mom and one of the daughters, and I complimented her the entire time through the process because she didn't have an easy job, and she made my job very easy. Because
Right.
getting everybody on the same page to do something. So
Yeah.
she would ask me a question. She was the project manager of the family. And all the time I would be like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy that I have you," because she was able to kind of keep the family in line, set
Yeah.
expectations and stuff. So it was perfect in that I had her. We worked so well together. And then mom, making sure, again, bringing all the elements of getting everybody's favorites in there. And then, of course, coming back and hearing the two of them provide their feedback and getting to the wine windows in Florence. The mom has dreamt about that since for whatever she could. Um, then they did the private boat, Gazo boat in Amalfi Coast. And the daughter's like, I'll never forget riding on the back of the boat with my mom, sipping champagne and looking at the Amalfi Coast. And it's just like, it brings you chills. And they're like, we would have never got there without you. We wouldn't even know we could do that. So those
Yeah.
talk about that word luxury. It's opening their mind to things they didn't even know that existed that they could do. And yeah, it was perfect. I probably reread the feedback 3 times. I'm like, ooh. Okay.
AI could never create something like that.
No. Yes. And then, of course, then like, I can't wait to do it again. And I'm like, I can't wait. And again, seeing that spark of interest and exploration in their mind because now they think bigger. I love being able to set that spark in somebody of, oh my goodness, the world is big and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. I think what's really cool about you and this conversation is, I've said this a million times, but this journey to becoming a 7-figure travel entrepreneur and getting to, have this thriving business, but also live a life that you love, all of it together it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you're on that journey, and you're on your way, but you're still on that journey. And so I love being able to showcase what it looks like at different stages of the journey. And I'm telling you, you are hitting it out of the ballpark with the 3 different blind spots. So congratulations to you. I love your deliberateness. I love your big thinking, and I love your patience. You have like this just gentle, patience. Are you laughing at yourself?
I always say I'm the least patient person, but I do demonstrate it a lot. But I'm like, funny you say that word.
I sense a lot of patience in a healthy way, not in a I'm just putting up with this way.
Yeah. Yes, it's all very deliberate.
Thank you so much, Erica, and thank you all for listening today. And we'll be back next time for our next episode. Thanks for listening to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast, where we dive deep into the exciting world of travel entrepreneurship. If you're looking for more, we have some great resources for both aspiring travel entrepreneurs and existing travel advisors. Aspiring travel entrepreneurs, if you're thinking about turning your love for travel into a profitable business and enviable life, take our Travel Entrepreneurial Suitability Score quiz. It's fun and insightful. Just go to travelmba.giftedtravelnetwork.com. Find out if you're ready to professionalize your passion for travel. Current travel advisors, if you've been selling travel but haven't been able to grow your sales beyond $200,000 in a 12-month window of time, our quiz can help there too. Again, you can find that at travelmba.giftedtravelnetwork.com. Advisors looking for a change. If you're seeking an elevated hosting experience for the luxury travel advisor, check us out at giftedtravelnetwork.com. We'd love to chat with you. And with that, we wrap up today's journey. We hope we inspired you today, or at a minimum, put a smile on your face.